Hi everyone. So I wanted to take this time to go live. Do you all see? Obviously you can't see me, but you can see my hand. Can you hear me? Excellent. Okay, so I wanted to take this time to just have some channeling. And the reason why I'm coming at this time is because there's just so much messages that have been coming up in this moment. I was like, I just got to, get it out there. So I'm going to, this card is not important, probably, maybe it is, who knows. But I just want to make sure it's nice and focused so you can see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to start by cleansing. And this session is just going to be whatever is coming up right now. If you do have questions, I'm going to be doing an additional session within the My People community, the Mystic community, on Sunday evening. So feel free to join that if you have specific questions. Right now, it's just the messages that are coming through. Just clear that out. And we're just going to open up with the channeling. Inhale, exhale. Thank you, universe, for this opportunity to be in this space and to bring across any messages. Please allow them to land clear and concise. Please bring these messages to those who need them and allow them to be released from anything that is showing up or to receive validation for anything that's going on in life. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to bring it a little bit closer to me. Hopefully you can hear it better. I don't have a mic set up because really it just came to me in this moment, and you should have saw me just trying to scramble to be like, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. Okay. So this is something that I do. I teach my practitioners, this a little bit as well, to explore various intuitive ways of reading things. But, I'll use cards. If you all remember Ray Tarot or whenever I've had these readings, I'll read cards, but I also read other things as well. And this is something that we kind of get into more within the My People community. Here, we just like to relax a little bit. But I just want to bring any messages that come up. And I'm just going to be open to that. Okay. So the first thing that's coming across, let me actually, so you can see it. Now, maybe for you, it looks pretty regular. But for me, I'll just tell you what I see. Things are, let me actually finish doing this. Things are all over the place, obviously so. But think about it the way that you go or you're going about doing things. At first, it feels though that it is expanding very far, very wide, all of that. But at the same time, there's something within your life that you are very sure of. And what I need you to not get confused of is the difference between, just because sometimes things are scattered sometimes, or maybe you have multiple interests or whatever that is, don't confuse that being all over the place with you not being sure about this thing. There is something that you're very sure of. Let me move this. I don't know if it really matters if you all see this. It matters to me if you see it. There is something that you are very sure of. And do not get distracted. Don't get distracted, don't get distracted, don't get distracted by how it is showing up in your life. I'm going to do this again. And I'm just going to just send the messages out. Again, this weekend, if you have any questions, you can, ask those questions there. But I'm just trying to, I'm trying to deliver it as best as I can. And I'm trying to get it all back in its home. If there's anything right now that you need some clarity with, just take this moment to really bring it into the space, visualize it, allow it to be free, allow it to be here. Okay. Keep going. Give yourself some time. Inhale. Exhale. Relax. One more. And take 3 deep breaths. And release. And then I'm just going to whatever that is, that thing. The message that comes across is everything about momentum. Just starting something can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. Starting something, we can really feel like it's a lot more work than what it is. And who doesn't want to have instant validation, as soon as it shows up in our life? Everyone wants to have that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the momentum will come. So whatever is happening right now in your life, the momentum will come. I don't want you to get caught up in I'm just trying to start this. So I'm a little nervous. So I don't know if that's an indicator of it not working out. I think what happens a lot within esoteric communities is that we look at everything as a sign. And though everything can be meaningful, not every moment of every day is this huge big sign to tell you yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. There is a lot of free will in how we're able to do things. It is our choice. It is our power. So instead of just kind of allowing things to happen to you, start to ask questions of, what do you want? How would you like this thing to be? Where would you like this thing to go? And when you're sure of that, take your time. But something you have to do is, in such a fast-paced time, you've got to slow down. We live in a time where we can see someone's before and after in 30 seconds, and that's unrealistic. For you to get wherever it is you're trying to go, or whatever it is you're trying to do right now, whatever you're trying to connect to right now, for you to get there, it's going to take time, and it will definitely work out. You have everything that you need, but you got to slow down. And I think that is the discipline that's coming across in this moment, during this time and during this space where everything moves so fast, and we see very fast solutions. We see for this hunger that we have for everything to be so fast, that people have found ways of making things move quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, when the true power, the longevity, the foundation of whatever it is you're trying to do, you will find it if you take your time. Now, I'm going to just let that seep in for a little bit. I just want you to, send me any message if anything that I'm saying is resonating, if there's anything that's coming across, if there's something that you're noticing from this, because the message came across. It is for someone. If it's for you, that is beautiful and that is lovely. But just giving you this opportunity and this space. Okay. So I'm going to take this. I'm just going to just bring it back out. Okay, you said it is dead on. Okay. It definitely resonates for me. Okay. That really helps me. And for those who are practitioners themselves, those who practice, those who channel messages, you know, it's so important to get feedback from others, because that really helps us in understanding what's going on. Because when it comes across to us, it's all over the place. So when we get that feedback from others, it can be very, very helpful. And like I said before, that's something that, you know, I teach my practitioners, and, you know, I want you all to have that as well. So I'm just trying to get this rice back in, and I'm just going to be as patient as possible, because it takes time. But if I'm patient, it will all go back in, and I don't end up making a bigger mess for myself. Okay. I'm going to put this up. And now, if there's something else that's coming up for you, I'm just going to see if there's any universe, is there any additional messages that are coming across? Did whatever, you know, it was, did it come out? Can I go back to doing what I was doing before I had to stop what I was doing to do this? Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? There's this feeling that you should have been doing this a long time ago. It's like long overdue type thing. High priestess, death, and the moon. And the Five of Wands. So there's this sense, I'm making it straight for myself and y'all can't see it. Okay, so there's this sense that there's just this conflicting, you know, attitude towards whatever this thing is. Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. Thought I was being helpful. Okay. Just want you to be able to see it. Okay. Let me just turn that to the side a little bit, so it's giving this glare. Okay, so there's this conflicting, hopefully that helps a little bit. So there's this conflicting attitude towards whatever this thing is. And if the light is too low, you gotta let me know, and I'll, you know, turn it back up. But there's this conflicting attitude within yourself. It's like fighting yourself. And it's this, you know, this mental thing, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You decide on it. You're like, I'm going to go and do this. And then something else sways you. And then you're going to decide on it again. And you go back and forth, and something else is going to sway you. You got to slow that down. You have to develop balance. Do we see this right here? You know, we see this balance here. The light and the dark, up and down, left and right. All of these things have balance. And we need to learn how to appreciate death instead of fearing it. This cycle of being able to let things go, to release things, to put them down. Can you imagine if you have to carry on the same thing for the rest of your life? Learning how to end a cycle is very, extremely important. Learning how to let something go is extremely important. But we're so afraid of losing yesterday that we give up on the promise of tomorrow. We are so afraid of losing yesterday that we give up on the promise of tomorrow. So just breathe in that for a second. And the moon is telling us sometimes you gotta do things without telling everybody. Don't tell everybody your business. Do not tell everybody your business. I'm serious. I know we all want support. I know we all want to be a part of community. There's nothing wrong with that. But each community is different. Sometimes you play games with people. Sometimes, you do activities with people. Sometimes it's other kind of things. Share things that are appropriate to those communities. But you cannot tell everybody everything at all times. The reason being is that you have something shifting within you, and it's an internal thing, and this journey is for you right now. It's not for everybody. So when you're ready to reemerge and, share this stuff, this, a transformation, this shift, this may just be something that is inside of you. Maybe it is something that has nothing to do with other people. And being able to honor that, being able to be open to that is really, really, really important. Don't shy away from that. Breathe in that balance. Breathe in that energy. So I'm going to give you good news, and then I feel like there's some mediocre news. I said I'm going to give you some good news, and I feel like there's mediocre news coming up. Okay. So the good news is you see your untapped potential. You see it. It's a whole thing. You see it. You can visualize yourself doing it. You could be able to do that thing. You could, be connected in whatever you need to be connected with. You see the opportunity. You see the growth. You see all of that thing. But where you're getting hung up, where you're getting hanged up, where you're getting hung up is you need to shift your perspective. It is not working out the way that you want it to work out in this moment because your perspective has not shifted. And you're stuck in this simply because you're like, wait a minute, everything else is aligned. Why is this not showing up the way that I want this to show up? Because you're looking at it the wrong way. That's why I just said to you, good news, but I'm going to give you some mediocre news. I guess it's not that mediocre. But, just be realistic. When the universe is speaking to us, it's sharing multiple messages, it's sharing multiple things, So just be realistic with those messages that come across. It's going to be, all across the board. So I want you to focus on how can you shift this perspective. That's it. That's the only thing you need to do. Shift the perspective. Stop getting caught up in the planning. Stop getting caught up in feeling like, am I enough? Am I going to be able to do this? Is this a good idea? When we were reading the rice, it felt very scattered. The energy felt very scattered. Am I going to be able to do this? Is this a good idea? Yes, these are all, very fantastic and lovely questions, to ask yourself. But are you giving yourself an opportunity to look at it from a new perspective? Now, I want you to be very honest with yourself. Okay? What is it? What is that thing? And how can you shift the focus? What can you do? What needs to change? Okay. Ask yourself these questions. Start to say things like, what really matters to me? Because if we get so caught up on the things that really don't matter, it is such a waste of time. Literally, just a very big waste of time. What do you need to let go of? What do you need to be free from? Where are you going? Where are you going? Is it possible? Is what you're doing possible? Why hasn't it worked out before? What limited it before? What do you need? Just sit with yourself a little bit. What is it? What is this thing? And when we really start to take the time to ask ourselves this, instead of just always being on the go, go, we start to see things a little bit differently. We start to feel things differently. We start to flow with things differently. Are you being honest with yourself? Just ask yourself, am I being honest with myself? Do I really care about this? Not everything is worth your worry. Not everything is worth your time. And you have the choice to decide what is worth your time. Stop getting caught up in old stuff. And stop moving so fast. Slow down. Just slow down. Take your time. Don't be afraid. You have as much time as you need. Flow in the direction that allows you to grow. Move in the direction that heals you. Find peace in who you are and what you want. Just keep going. Just keep going. Universe, oh, hold on. Hold on. 1 second. Who is guiding you? Who is guiding you? Because they're showing up and they want to be acknowledged. And you have to give yourself the space to acknowledge them. Who's guiding you? Who's your, whatever you believe in. You all know that I'm like, whatever you believe in, that's your business, okay? But whatever that is, your understanding, your unknown, pay attention to how it shows up for you in your life. You have been receiving validation over and over and over and over again. Are you listening to it? When the universe or your understanding, when it shows up and it gives you validation, what do you say? What do you say? What do you say? Do you say, thank you, I'm going to listen to it? Or do you say, oh yes, this feels good right now, but then I'm going to go back to worrying about something? When the universe drops its answer, and this is your guides, whatever your guides are. So what I teach my practitioners is this, okay? Depending on your tradition and your lineage. That means if you follow a set belief system, or you have you have merged systems together, or you have your own way of doing things, based off of that system, what do you call I call them energetic helpers. What do you call the energetic helpers? Some call them guides. Some call them angels, gods and goddesses, specific names, ancestors, and we can go on and on and on and on and on. I'm not going to get caught up in what to call them, because that's not the point of this. You get to decide what that is for you. But are you listening? Are you listening? Because I think you're ready for whatever this is. Whatever this message that came across is. I think you're ready. I think you're ready. And I just got to be, straightforward with you. You have to let this old part of you just kind of go. Just let it expire. There's this sense of holding on, and it's not that you want to be there. It is more of a situation of you all, there's a word for it, or there's like a phrase for it. It's like, like addicted to feeling bad, or just like the feeling of like, this feeling of like, ugh. It feels strangely good to just contemplate and deeply think, ruminate over, what isn't going right. It's like a kind of twisted kind of thing. And I think it's just time to let it go, It's time to let it go. Just free it. Just free it. Let it be where it is. You cannot complain about something another day, whatever this thing is. You can't feel bad for yourself another day, because it's just, there's so much potential that's showing up that it's really what you're focusing on. Like literally, it is really what you're focusing on. Change your perspective. Are you ready to change your perspective? Because the solutions you have are right in front of you. If only you change your perspective. I get it. Easier said than done. Totally get it. But it's just going to be what it's going to be. Because you're going to do this little dance until you're ready. It's going to be like this until you're ready. You're going to do this over and over and over and over and over again until you're ready. And then when you get ready, you're going to turn around and be like, oh, wow. I don't know why I made this hard. I don't know why I made this hard. No need to make this hard. I'm just going to keep this nice and simple. I'm just going to let this flow. So releasing that old stuff. So let me tell you what a new perspective perhaps could look like. Let's ask the rice. Let's ask the rice with this new perspective. Sorry, y'all. That is my timer to tell me that I need to start to wrap it up. You have to overpower. You know what? I'm going to rephrase it differently. The way I'm going to rephrase it is like this. If you know that whatever this thing is brings you understanding, brings you clarity, brings you peace, makes you feel good when you do it, it might just be a little discouraging from time to time when things don't flow the way that you want it to flow. If you know that to be the case, you have to fight for, and when I say fight for, shift your habits, kind of push yourself to work towards whatever those things, that thing is, without the need to succumb to your imagination of that. You already know what's important, what you need, how you want to approach this thing. But sometimes the imagination can create all types of scenarios and all types of situations that may make us think differently than what we already know. You already know this. So with that being said, you really have to push past what you're thinking in the moment to what you know. I know this is good for me. I know I should do X, Y, and Z. And I'm not talking about forcing yourself to do things that that are just kind of time fillers. I'm talking about this big thing, whatever this big thing is. Just show up and just be honest with yourself. Just show up and take your time with yourself. Just be patient with yourself. Just be peaceful with yourself. Just relax into this. It's telling you exactly what you need, what you gotta do. But the reason why, it can feel like a little nervous or feel like, I know it's right, but hey, I don't know why I keep on feeling conflicted, is because you have to change the information that is being presented to you all the time. So what that means is you got to be mindful of the people you're around, the environments, the mentality. You have to, this is actually even more important. You need to be aware of the information you're consuming. Because if you're consuming a lot of information that doesn't align with what you know to be true about how you want to do things, then it will be leading you somewhere else. So you kind of have to be very open to, well, this is the type of information that I need to receive. This is the type of information that I need to balance within myself. Hello, Jet. I am new to this. Can you explain what rice reading is and how it works? So, what I teach my practitioners is we, start off with our intuitive training, because you all know I'm a Reiki master teacher. I'm also an intuitive. And we'll start off with things like cards, either tarot or oracle cards. And I think that we all know, we've seen people use cards. When I was being trained in my intuitive training, we didn't use anything. We just kind of had to show up with ourselves in front of the person and channel messages. A lot of my specialty has to do with distance healing and distance sessions. So learning how to be able to channel those messages at, when the physical person is not there, and, all of that. And what I realized during the process when I had to do this intuitive training without anything is I started to use tarot and I started to use oracle. And then I got to a point in my journey, if you all have been here for a long time, I used to have a Ray tarot. I still have it, but I don't really put anything on there anymore, only because I started to feel like, wait a minute, I'm not able to get the messages the way that I was getting them before. And then I went and I received a reading for myself, which was totally unrelated to this, and it was to something else. And they were telling me, to be mindful of rice. And so here it is. I go and I get this big bag of rice, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay. And then I start to see the messages in the same way that I was, being able to read the messages within the cards. I start to see them appear across the rice, just how it's placed. That moment, I'm starting to connect with the rice. I'm seeing, things in the way that I saw with cards. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is just another way, a new way that I was being pulled to be able to do intuitive readings. Okay. So this is very similar to the practice of reading tea leaves. There are, different traditions that have, the practice of reading tea leaves. In the process of doing that may be different. Perhaps the person who is a divination practitioner is drinking the tea and then reads it. Or they may, if you're in person, give you the tea to drink and then they read it. Or they have some other type of process that happens. It just depends on the tradition. So rice reading is similar in that we are using this thing that shouldn't be, anything except for rice. But we're utilizing it in order to channel our intuitive messages. Because sometimes when those messages come across, it's just a lot. And it's really hard to focus, on just one thing. So sometimes the rice helps it. Tarot can be very helpful too, because, you see the illustration. It makes sense of how it brings it together. But rice, sometimes when I'm looking at similar kind of things, too often the rice is kind of like a way to refresh it. If you ever get perfume and you smell a little bit of coffee, this is what it is. So this is one of the specialties that I have. I typically don't read for clients, not because I don't want to. We usually get into a lot during a session, and so getting the rice out and things like that, it's just one of the many tools. As you all know, I teach people how to be well-rounded energy healing practitioners. So this is just another way of doing things. Okay, so I want to hear from you all. Did anything I say resonate, or is there anything that, you've been noticing in your life? If you have any particular questions, we're going to be doing some more of this. I don't know if I'm going to be doing the rice reading or if I'm going to just be sticking to tarot and oracle on Sunday, but there is going to be a Sunday session within the My People community, the Mystic community. And so that information is already up there, and I'm going to be taking specific questions there to apply there. I try to, if you all remember Ray Tarot, I don't know if you do. I used to take a lot of questions there, but I really am very mindful with the readings that I give in big settings, only because it's so much energy that those who make it into the smaller sessions, I feel like it's much more tailored. The bigger energy is just so much happening at once, which, I like that energy. Time really flows. But at the same time, sometimes people ask, questions that need a little bit more time. And being able to do it within the My People community kind of gives me the opportunity to kind of slow things down and really look at things. And you're awesome at reading rice, because you are shedding light on my obstacles at the moment. Very informative. Thank you for sharing. This was extremely helpful. Thank you so much. I've been watching you for about 3 years now. Oh, happy to share. Music makeup. Yes, I've been stuck in a decision between my current life and the life I know is for me. Yes, going through a career change right now, and it helps settle a lot of doubt. Thank you so much. Yeah, I want you all to know that within the esoteric community, when I say esoteric, I mean whenever you see a Reiki practitioner, energy healing practitioner, whenever you see someone who is doing tarot or doing some type of reading, and we can get into lineages and stuff like that too. sometimes people are feeling like, wait a minute, there's a right and a wrong path for me, and I don't want to make the wrong decision. But really, it's actually not even that. It's what do you want, and do you accept the power of creating a decision that changes your life? I think it's much easier when we just feel like there's a right and wrong way, and like we don't have to necessarily take responsibility for choosing whatever path is best for us. But honestly, the power that we're realizing now in the moment is that there's not this kind of set way of things to go. It's I get to choose where I want to go. Do I have the courage? Do I have the courage to do that? The message reached me at the exact moment I needed. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. This was very helpful with letting me know I'm moving in the right direction. Excellent. I'm glad you all were able to receive that message. Because I kid you not, I was doing something else. As you all know, the 2-hour healing is happening right now. So I'm doing something else, and I'm like, the universe and what we call, when we're doing card work, we may say spirit, or we may say within another tradition, guides, or what I like to say, energetic helpers, or we could go on and on and on, screaming at me, you need to go and do this right now. And I'm like, I'm a very organized person, as you know, through Organize Your Purpose, the podcast. I'm a really organized person. I like everything to be like scheduled on time and all that stuff. But the universe was like, go, just go. Whoever needed to hear it, your guides are very strong, because they stopped me from doing what I was doing to bring the message across. So, and also they gave that message for people who just kind of came now. They gave that message that pay attention to them. Pay attention. They popped up right in the middle. There was a time, I think it was the Ace of Swords or the Page of Swords or something like that. Right before I read the card, they just popped up. Like, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here sending this message for you, or validating this message for you. And so definitely pay attention to them, and definitely, heed the wisdom. And I think when you do that, life feels a little bit more manageable. It doesn't feel, there's not this feeling of like, you got to get everything right at all times and everything needs to be perfect. It's just simply like this feeling of, I'm going to just go with the flow, and it's going to work out. Just know that any decision that you make, if you just go with the flow, it should work out. Like you can shape things. When you get a piece of clay and you want to make something, you don't have to just make a cup. You can make a sculpture. You can make it into a weird bowl or something. I don't know. But you have that choice to do it. So when you limit yourself, and of course we had the hanged person, when you limit yourself to a limiting perspective, when you're looking at that clay, you only see one thing, a cup. And if you for some reason the cup is not working out that day, you're losing the opportunity to make something else. To make a plate, to make a turtle, to make whatever that is. Like to make whatever that is. Don't lose out on that. I'm also at a crossroads between whether to stay where I moved or to move back home after graduation. I decided to choose love, even if it's scary and unknown. I'm so happy you decided to do the live. I'm happy to be in this space with you all. And I'm happy, to share the message. I think that there's power in any choice that you make. And you have to be the authority and final say. Whatever you want to do, you be the authority and you be the final say. And everything will move. You know, I'll say it like everything will work out, but I don't think that's the best way of saying it. I think the best way of saying it is like this. Everything will move in the direction it needs to move in. Everything will flow in the direction that it needs to flow in. Everything will work out in the way that it needs to work out. I have been dreaming of and feeling the spirit of my deceased loved ones. That would be ancestors. Just thinking of them every day. I think they are guiding and protecting me. They are. My dreams are so clear. So if you are dreaming of them, and so this is going into the practice of ancestor veneration, ancestor reverence. So paying respect to our ancestors. I'm going to give you a little kind of, a little ancestor story. Us as a species, Homo sapiens, you know, there were other hominins, they were, you know, going around, but our species is the one that kind of like played out. And of course there was, you know, mingling and stuff, so genetically people are, you know, different species. Anyway, long story short, we have our species, right? And our species is just kind of flowing around the world, and, you know, different things are happening. Our species is probably like the oldest, you know, found remnants. It's probably something like maybe like probably around 300,000 years old. But some estimate that it's maybe more like 1 million years old. So our species being, you know, the Homo sapien, just kind of rolling around, right? So when we started to come together in more of a constructed civilization, a civilization is, you know, people are coming together and then they start to have their own specialized job. Sometimes it can be a representation of like a walled city or something like that. But, you know, even before that, even larger groups just working together and being efficient, for some reason, no matter where we were in the world, and this is an ancestor kind of thing that we're talking about, no matter where our species was in the world, whether it is a remote island or it is a, you know, a land-locked place, for some reason, those indigenous people of those various places, for some reason felt that when their loved ones transitioned on, they still felt them. The word of how they pay respect to them is different in each culture. And how we look at it in modern times has changed, you know, because of course faith, spirituality, religion, that changes how we look at things over time. But for some reason, our species, no matter where we seem to land, had this experience of our loved ones coming across. With that being said, it gives us this validation that they are always with us, that we are in support of them and they are in support of us. And when those loved ones transition on, they are no longer hindered by the reality that they had in the living. What does that mean? Maybe you had someone who was really kind of like mean and fussy, but once they were able to leave the physical and go back into the energy form, just pure energy form, they were no longer hindered by, perhaps it was chronic illness, perhaps it was systemic things, perhaps it was life experiences, perhaps it was, you know, those times limiting perspectives. Whatever that was that kind of put this thing over them, and even their own journey of how they were learning, they had that removed as they, you know, went back into pure energy form. So they're working from, and I'll say their highest self, but they're working from an unhindered view of things. So questions that I get often would be, when it comes to ancestors, Are they mad at me for, well, it's June, at this time. So are they mad at me for being gay or queer or something like that? Or they mad at me because I didn't live my life the way they wanted me to live my life? Are they mad at me because I took this job instead of that? Are they mad at me because I did not marry so-and-so? Are they mad at me because of da-da-da-da-da-da? And when I say that they don't care about that stuff, they don't. They just don't. They don't care about that stuff. Because those are more of modern, or let me not use the word modern. Those are conversations that have to do with the society of the time. So when we think about people 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago or even 10,000 years ago, they had different things that they were worried about and how they would, communicate with their ancestors. They were thinking something different. So don't get caught up in our, society's understanding of things. Go back to the pure essence. So what they want for you is a sense of freedom and a sense of power. Freedom and power looks different to different people, but freedom can be you have the right to choose the life that you want to choose because you chose to do so. Power is you take on the power of, this is what I'm going to do. I don't have to know all the answers. This is what I'm going to do. The right and wrong, is there a right or wrong thing? That's more of a socially constructed thing. But what is right for you is right for you. Sometimes the path looks all this way and that way. Another interesting thing about the ancestors is that they are so close to us that they understand when we are not financially where we want to be, when we are heartbroken, when we're excited for love, when we're passionate about something, when we have the drive for something. They understand and they align us with that. Versus, and I don't want to get, these are more like conversations that I have with the energy healing practitioners, but when we get higher up and we start looking at, like I used an example before, what someone would consider an angel, or, even going up to, different, gods and goddesses and things like that. When we look at the universe as a whole, any experience can be a catalyst for something. With that being said, if any experience can be a catalyst for something, that means sometimes the experience is not going to feel good, and that can be pretty difficult on us. But the ancestors are different. They are shaping us, and they are kind of supporting us, I think is a better way, and not shaping, but like supporting us and simply saying like, hey, if you go this direction, just be mindful of this. Versus the universe is like, no matter what direction you go in, something's going to happen, and just flow with that. They're saying like, hey, don't quit your job, or don't, put all your money or put all your eggs in one basket before it's the right time. Everything is timing. And of course, like there's other synchronicities that can happen. It's not everything is just one way. But that is one way that we connect with our ancestors. So through different traditions, the ancestors are revered, and I love that now this is a moment where there's a resurgence of people wanting to connect with their ancestors. I think a way that it has been persisting in society is that one might say that their loved one had passed away and had come back as an angel, and I think that was probably like a modern day understanding of how ancestors could still be with us, and things like that. So yes, the ancestors are with you. They're sharing messages. Pay attention. They are with me, guiding me in my next decision. Exactly. This is so needed. Yes, thank you. I just want to know that they are all right. Oh, you know what? Let me tell you something. They're better than all right. I got another little story to tell you real quick. So I'm a very reserved person externally. And internally, I'm pretty calm and peaceful. But I notice that when I get into specifically my dreaming state, not channeling is fine, but when I get in my dream world, my energy is like right? And so I was really grieving. I was grieving my grandmother who had passed away last year. And it made sense. She was, older person, and um, she was in a lot of discomfort, and it made sense. And but there was a piece of me that felt very conflicted. I was very upset that, just how things had played out for her. And I wanted to have deeper or different conversations with her within this lifetime that I didn't necessarily felt like I was able to get. So in a dream, and it's crazy, when I went to sleep, I wasn't even thinking about this, but in the dream, I saw her and I saw my grandfather, and he had passed away, let's say, like, he maybe passed away like 20 years ago. Oh gosh. Time is flying. Wow. Yeah. He passed away 20 years ago. And I just had, such wonderful memories with him, and, things like that. And so when they showed up in the dream, I saw my grandmother. And she looked very, very, I want to say like 70s fabulous, but not 70s like groovy. She was a very regal woman, right? And she just like looked like her best self. And that's an important thing to notice about ancestors. They come to you after they have had some time to transition. They come to you as their best self, how they want to look, not always how we saw them. So she was looking very regal. It was giving, I was going to say it's giving Stepford Wives. It was giving homemaker. And just think about the time period of the time of the 70s where, it would have probably been appealing to be a homemaker. When you're a woman of color during that time, a lot of times, even if someone was a homemaker, they didn't necessarily have the choice to stay at home. This conversation, not to get too systemic, but the conversation of, I want to go and be able to work. Women have been able to work for a long time, and a lot of times with Black women, our ability to work has been, regulated, laws and different things like that over time. So maybe for her, this is all about how my grandma came to me. Maybe for her, she wanted to be a homemaker. Maybe she did not want to work, and she enjoyed that. She was a woman of a lot of Tupperware, and a lot of ceramics and stuff. But she showed up, and I see her, and I was, having a fit. I don't even know what I was having a fit for. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, And then my granddad showed up, and he showed up and he looked like, he looked like a very, very young, handsome version of himself. I was like, whoa. And looking at them together, they were at different age ranges. He looked like maybe he's like 24. She looked like maybe she's in her 40s, right? But yet they showed up one at a time, and they looked at each other almost like, when you have like a good friend and you see them like, oh, we're meeting up at this spot. And they came to me because I needed them. And I remember that when my granddad first died, it took me a couple of years to really process through that, because I was young, but I wasn't, that young. I was becoming a teenager. And so I didn't necessarily know how to process that and process, your life is changing and stuff like that. And he would come to me in those kind of ways. And then finally he had told me one time, he's like, I gotta, I've been here too long. It took me becoming an adult to realize that sometimes they say things like that because they know that if they keep coming to you, you're going to be stuck. You won't live your life. You will always want to be, underneath the veil with them. So he had said, I've been coming too long. I have to go, right? And so he went, and I was like, okay, it is what it is. But to see him kind of reappear and to see her reappear and then to show up like, hey, more of a comforting way. And it's not that they even said anything to me. It was more of like, oh, wow, y'all are out here living great. Like, that's what I thought. That's the exact thing I thought in the moment. I don't even know what I was, having a fit for, but they're living great. And it just brought so much peace to me. It made me feel like, wow, you get to experience however your best version of life now, because you're not limited by this other stuff. And so, with that being said, if anyone has lost, or has been thinking of loved ones that have departed or transitioned and things like that, just know that, after a while, they're doing real well. They feel this sense of freeness, but they feel bad that we feel bad more than it is that they are feeling bad, if that makes sense. They feel bad that we're hurt, but yet they are having, a blast. And there are, and this is, again, conversations that I have with the energy healing practitioners. There are situations in which when people leave, if it's sudden or something like that, there is, times of being able to, for them to process, move on, what happens in traumatic situations, that's a different kind of conversation. But just the normal process of someone, getting older and transitioning on, yes, they are instantly released from that. They're instantly let go from the binds of where they were in their life. And it feels good again. Because I was thinking about this when it comes to aging. It's like, it was another realization I had when I'm like, oh my gosh, when my grandma had passed away, she was calling for her mother. And it's not things that I really thought about. I never thought about her wanting to be a housewife because she was very assertive. She was really great with money, which I think, maybe that was one of the duties of housewives at that time, but she was just really like assertive. She always, was organized. She would work, she would do this, she would do that. But I think in her heart, she would have loved to just been a homemaker. And because this woman kept her house so clean. I mean, I've just never seen anyone clean a house the way that she would keep the house clean and her stuff nice. I mean, plastic. She used to have, I don't know if y'all remember this, but when you would have a runner on your carpet, or you would have she would have a little, carpet mats, so the floor was carpet, and then there would be a little carpet mat wherever someone would sit down. She even had the nerve to put the plastic protector on it, the ones that had the little spikes. This is really aging me, but the ones that had the little spikes on it, she would even put that there. She just really, she just was really a very just well put together person. Anyway, but all of the things that she probably wanted to be and that she wanted to become, that time, that place, all of that stuff, she is now free to do that. She told me one time her first job was picking cotton. And she's from Fayetteville, North Carolina, right? And I just paused because as a child, I was thinking to myself, how old are you? It just seemed so distant as a child because as we know, and we can see it through the conversation happening now, the plight of people of color, and as well as how the U.S. formed and shaped and how the world has evolved, history has been changing to reflect a fuller picture and a bigger picture. So for me as a child, there was this wow, I didn't realize how close you were to a totally different time and place. I just didn't, realize it at all. And so having that realization, and then to see how she probably saw so much change in her life, and she wanted to have all of these things for herself. Now she's able to, have these things. She's not limited. It makes me respect her energetic boundaries of understanding, like, oh no, you didn't leave me. It was time for you to go. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where it's like we don't need to be afraid of death when it is our turn, many, many moons later, because it is a part of this beautiful experience as we go forward. And back to the original point, she was asking for her mother, and I had this realization that I'm like, oh my gosh, this whole time, I've only known her as someone who was old. She wasn't actually old, but she was old to me. She was a grandmother. I watched her become a great-grandmother. She's always been my grandmother. But at the end of the day, she was someone's daughter, and that's how she saw herself. No matter how she was presenting to me, no matter how she showed up as a mother or a grandmother or a sister or a wife or a friend, she was someone's daughter. And it made me think about, oh my gosh, that's how I feel, you know? No matter how much I grow and I change and I'm older, you know, I still, you know, feel similar. I don't know if you all feel this way, but I don't know. I think there comes like a certain point in a person's life where things start to feel very similar. You know, when you're a kid and you're growing up, things kind of change, because I think we have those benchmarks. We have like, okay, you know, you're in the ninth grade, or you're in elementary school, and then you're going to high school or middle school, or, you know, secondary school, primary school, secondary school, and then perhaps you may go to college, or then you go to this thing, and then there kind of gets a certain point where things just start to merge, especially if things are kind of like similar. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I turn around and I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, the people who, when I became an adult, people who were babies are now adults, and it's just so interesting. And I feel like, oh my gosh, I still feel like I'm like the same person. But I think all of that being said, it gave me a lot of grace to look at my grandmother and to be like, oh wow, you wanted all of these things, and now you're able to have it, and it makes me happy for you. And you know, my granddad too, being able to have, you know, that freedom and to flow. Greetings. Same with my grandma. We had those running down our hallways. It wasn't that long ago. It surely wasn't. True, I was born in the 90s, but even my great aunt, who lived over 100, was a sharecropper. Mm-hmm. And I remember when she said that, I was like, and she looked at me, and this is what she, you know what? It's something that I think I get this from her, and I'm so appreciative for it. It is just this no-nonsense approach to respecting yourself. She was looking at me like I was crazy. She was like, it was a job, and I did what I had to do. I said, oh, you're not wrong. There was no shame associated with it. She's like, it was a job. I did what I had to do, and it is what it is, because that was the type of jobs that were available for her at that time. And then, you know, she made the decision to move, you know, farther north in order to have, to be a switchboard operator. So for people, you know, who know what a switchboard is, you know what it is. For people who don't, it's like a, you know, an operator back in the day, they had these switchboards, and they had to be able to, when you called into something, they actually had to like reconnect it to the person that you needed to go to. It's what we would look at now as an operator, but it was like there was a lot of people, especially women, who really took on these roles, and they were able to make income and have specialty and start to have different kind of roles. And so I say all that to say that when our ancestors transition on and they're still with us, they still come across, they see the opportunities we have today. Let's give an example. The opportunity we have today, the internet. The opportunity that we have today is that we are not limited by the people just around us. We have so many people that we can, you know, be in contact with, can meet with, can be in community with. And this is a phenomenon that's been happening just over and over again. When, you know, and now things are going so fast. Information moves so fast. First it was, you know, writing. Writing was something within our species that really shifted things. And then it was, you know, bringing those writings together, a book. Just remember when they had, you know, like the books, and then they started to use the printing press and stuff, and that was crazy, you know, because before, books were such a strenuous task to create that not everyone had the ability to have access to books, so not everyone could be able to read. But once they started to have the printing press, books were much cheaper to make, so it gave people opportunities to have access. Certain people anyway, you know, when we're looking at different areas. Anyway, So then, it goes on, and then we have things like newspapers, in which the book was just that thing that, you have, but the newspaper are things that are like updated like that. And then we started having things like the telegram and radio and all of these things that start to show up in different ways. All of these things that start to change the way that we communicate. And then after radio, what do we have? We had TV. And after TV, we had the internet. And then we just see different iterations of that. With that being said, your ancestors can tell that you have opportunities. So look at this thing in a different way. Look at it from a different perspective. Yep, had to call the operator to ask to speak to another person. The telephone didn't automatically connect you to the person you wanted to call. I saw this TikTok where there was just a jack to put, like a phone cord jack in the wall, and the person was like, I think this is a hidden camera. It was actually really interesting, It was really interesting. And it's only interesting because I still feel like that they make, they put like jacks in the wall, so I don't think it's like that outdated. You still need that to be able to connect stuff. But yeah, just and that wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago at all. So I don't know. It's just really interesting. But yes, so I hope that ancestors, definitely came across and they were able to share. Maybe they just wanted us to kind of hang out for a little bit and share that energy. I do have something, what do I want to say? If you have specific questions that you need answered, or that you want to get those answers, I have a session happening on My People. My People is our community, and it is at thempcommunity.com. But you can even go to to my website, ReikiHealingHope, and under membership, it has like the My People community. Anyway, that's a community where we are in collective with each other. That's where we're, kind of sharing and talking and stuff like that. It's just kind of like a deeper place to come together. Anyway, so that's where the mystic community is, of like esoteric practices and stuff like that. That's where the energy healing practitioners, the apprentices are, and that's where our overall community happens to kind of float about and hang out a little bit. And I'm really loving that people are hanging out with each other and talking to each other and sharing their gifts and their perspectives and stuff like that. So anyway, I have a session coming up on Saturday, 7 p.m. EST. And so I put all of like the events and stuff that are happening. That happens on the My People community, as well as there's still the Sunday healing group that happens every Sunday at 9 p.m. And that, yes. So I hope you all enjoyed this time together. Do you still do virtual one-on-ones? Yes, I still do virtual one-on-ones. All of my information is on my website and stuff like that. I do spend a lot of time. I'm going to be completely honest with you all. I have those virtual one-on-ones available for you all if you need them. But I am more invested in you learning how to do these things for yourself. That's why I kind of focus so much on the practitioners. I focus on developing, or creating spaces so that they can explore their abilities. They can explore their, healing journeys. They can explore developing themselves and things like that. Because I think at the end of the day, we all have within us the ability to work through different things. And that's just kind of like what I like to focus on the most, to be honest with you. But yes, they're still available. And for those who are like, okay, well, I just kind of want to get my feet wet, the Sunday healing groups are really, really nice, because that we come together 9 p.m. EST every Sunday. We spend an hour together, and I take you through like a cleansing. And that one's only $5. So it's really nice to be able to just have that space if you need it. And seeing similar people each week is very cool. Every group has their set people who like to show up, so it's really cool. But I think people on Instagram, or the Instagram community, is really much more into the Sunday healing group. So yes, I think that's it. That's all, y'all. So I came across with the messages. I did what I was supposed to do. Now y'all gotta take the action and do what y'all were supposed to do yourselves. Let me see. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Oh, and Natalie R, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to let y'all do y'all thing. So I'm going to be going live again. I wish it was more structured. Just know this. The healing sessions will always be happening at night. The lives, they're going to happen when they happen. They're going to happen when they happen. So just know that it is from my heart. Because I'm alive. Well, don't worry about it. You know, you could always just replay it. It's okay. All the information is still relevant. It's relevant. Oh yeah, I'm a real big earplugs person at night. If I'm alone, I don't typically put earplugs in. You know, I gotta be prepared. But if my partner's at home, I do. So then I can sleep real quiet, and then I'll let her figure it out. I'm gonna let her figure that out. And yes, I'm gonna go live again. Probably gonna stick to live on here and maybe Instagram. I just think I don't know. I feel like I feel good here. I feel real good here. Okay, everyone. Well, I'll see you next time, and feel free to hop back into the other session if you need some relaxation. And I'll see you at the next live. Okay, bye, everyone.